Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our deep dive into this radical feminist book about the sexual revolution by Laurie Penny. It's important to know what these women are putting out there so that we can show that no, Muslim women should not support this and we should break it down and give some pushback. The Christian women are doing it, and I feel that it's a job of a Muslim woman to do it as well. Let's begin. They are remaking the future in a shape that redefines freedom as universal and demands it for everyone, not simply for white, straight, wealthy, cis men. Okay, look at that. There it is. She is letting you, she said in this book she is ambitious, right? And she's saying wealthy, cis men. So she hates money, she hates straight men, and she hates the skin shade of white people. Again, the envy and the resentment is totally manifest. And cis sounds like cyst, which is a terrible thing to have on your body, a cyst. It was interestingly, there was a black man who was very, I don't think he's a Hebrew Israelite, black Hebrew Israelite, but along that genre, he said that there's a reason why these rainbow mafias are using a word, cis, that sounds like cyst, because they're trying to say that straight people, especially masculine men, are a cancer or a deformity, and that every time you say cis, that it'll bring about a grossness, because it's too close to the word that sounds like something that would make you feel that if you went to a doctor's office and they told you you had that in your body, right? No woman wants to have a cyst on her ovaries, right? It's terrifying. It could literally make you infertile while they go to take it off. So they're cleverly using words that sound very nasty so that they can create hate. Now, in Islam, we don't automatically hate the wealthy. We don't worship the world. We are a passing traveler, and we are tested with wealth and without it, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala definitely doesn't hate straight men, nor does he hate the pale folk, right? That would be absurd. Absolutely absurd. I believe that paradigm shift will remake our civilization. Yeah, into Sodom and Gomorrah. Is remaking it, as I write, despite the backlash from a fragile, savage minority that would rather burn the world than share it. Now, here again. Savage minority. No. Actually, heterosexuality is the majority, right? If you took away the drug-induced experimentations people have at wild parties, there wouldn't be as many instances of bi-curiosity, I'd argue. A lot of it comes upon men drink and use drugs too much, and then there's a predatorial man who wants to flip them and turn them into a twink unsuccessfully. And a lot of them turn bi, or at least become that way, when they are in prison because they have no choice, according to them. I'd argue they do have a choice not to do it and have their hand. But some people choose a different path. Now, she's called savage minority. She is really being the perfect stereotype we would think her to be. Sex and gender are in a crisis, and that crisis is reshaping society. The pattern repeats across and beyond the global north, as changes in the balance of power between men and women provoke a brutal political backlash. The balance of power here. So she's framing it as a balance of power. She's using brutal, right? So she's really trying to hype up the tension between men and women. And as we know, as it states in the Quran, there are Harut and Marut, right? Those basically who were able to transmit magical knowledge that would divide men and women. We know as Muslims that there are people who serve the occultic agenda and who want to cause discord within the family unit. Here, when she's talking about balances of power, she's getting at how women should have the power and that men should no longer have the patriarchal system. So she's trying to put the wife against the husband and the husband against the wife, which shows you who they serve. And women refuse to be intimidated into giving up their power, you see? So if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and use your feminine power to raise a human soul, to do one of the most noble things on this earth, to use your body as a portal to bring more Muslim babies into this world, you're giving up your power. See how she frames it? That though there's a balance of power, and women should not give up their power, whatever that may be. I think she also means sexual power, so she wants women to use their vaginas in the most vulgar, manipulative, Ishtarian way. In the summer of 2016, a teenage girl was gang raped in Spanish town of Pamplona. The 5 men who were arrested for the attack referred to themselves as La Manada, the Wolf Pack. Their trial made international headlines as a high-profile incident of sexual violence became a referendum on the nature of power in a divided nation. When the Wolfpack was acquitted of rape in April 2018, hundreds of thousands of women poured into the plazas throughout Spain, demanding changes. Okay. Yeah, terrible rapes exist. But that's not masculinity, is it? She has more about that case, but I already know she's going to try to use this one horrific example to then try to say masculinity is rape culture. So let's skip a paragraph. I don't want to read about that case. I want to get at her ideas, not read legal papers. Even though it does show us how she thinks. Or at least evidence on why she holds a certain view. This book is an attempt to describe and to challenge the material reality of sex and power in the modern age. It covers a lot of ground, but it also comes down to a few basic central themes. Firstly, all of us are living in a political economy of patriarchy. There it is. Yes, and woman, patriarchy is a power system based on male dominance. Male dominance, but also male guidance, male safety, male support. She's not using very positive words here. They're designed to keep everyone of every gender, there's only 2 genders. Do you see what she's doing here? Every gender, 78 genders, in their assigned roles. Yes, in order for a pack to work, team to work effectively, dishwasher gotta wash the dishes, cook gotta cook, manager gotta manage. Concentrating wealth and agency in the hands of a paranoid few. Paranoid. See the word she's using here? This comes from the feminists trying to say that the men wanting to be in positions of power is because they're paranoid of the female power. It's quite absurd. Rather, if you are a leader, you are paranoid. As a mother, when I helicopter parent my child, I'm paranoid of threats, of her picking up something she's not supposed to, like especially if you got a baby who's crawling, they might eat a penny. You know, you're paranoid. It's how we survive, right? When you're a leader, you must lead. And paranoia has twofold example. Paranoia is not just a crackhead smoking dope and then looking out the window, hallucinating and thinking a tree is coming to eat them, right? That's delusional paranoia from drugs. But actual motherly awareness can be framed as paranoia when in reality it's just being observant, it's being aware. Patriarchy underwrites the other key power structures that perpetuate injustice. So here she's saying patriarchy perpetuates injustice. In my mind, it does not. If we had more of a patriarchal system where men took their roles better, there'd be less single mothers, less remarried widows. Women would have more protectors from bad men, and wicked women would be less able to harm good women because we would have a stronger male guardian to combat them. So I would say patriarchy brings more justice, and it's absurd to think that a matriarchal system is going to automatically be kind because women abort their children for trivial reasons and they were too lazy to use birth control. You can use birth control, he can use a rubber, and he can pull out. The chances of you getting pregnant with those three combinations are very low, and if you stop sleeping around with dudes who could care less about you, maybe then you could have a better chance, I'd argue. So to pretend that women can't be tyrants is highly absurd. All of us have the potential to be a Cersei Lannister. And if we don't think that, we're just not being honest. We are not being honest. Capitalism and white supremacy. Here we go. So she's probably a filthy communist. And she's calling everything white supremacy. Right? Communism in China still has a capitalist flavor. But they got Muslims in concentration camps. They forced women to only have one child for a while. I don't think that capitalism is all to blame. If you don't like capitalism, you can try to go and live in a system that doesn't have it. People like to blame capitalism for all their problems, when in fact, a lot of their life choices, it comes down to them and what their parents did. If you want to break the dysfunctional chain in your family, it's going to take some time, right? And to blame white people for all your problems, if you're going to blame white patriarchy for all the problems, you just got a lot of hate in your heart, and it's not accurate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed whomever he wills to dominate for a time. That's the way it goes. Hierarchy is in the insect world, it's in the plant world, it's everywhere, right? You cannot get out of the pecking order system. Whatever tree has its roots grounded survives, and roots will choke out any other roots. It's just the way it works. It's absurd to think injustice cannot happen in a communistic economic structure. It's just absurd. I mean, if you look at how the tribes were warring in Mexico before Hernan Cortez showed up, they was going to war all the same, and the Aztecs were the hegemonic force, and they regulated how much salt the other smaller tribes got. So they had the Aztec supremacy. Supremacy is the one who got supreme, and by their sheer force and by the permission of Allah for a time. And to Allah we all return, and we'll be held accountable for how we were in our supremacy. Supremacy versus degeneracy. She's promoting degeneracy. And patriarchy, crucially, does not mean a system ruled by men. Really, woman. It means a system ruled by fathers. See? You should see it right there. The attack on the father figure. I'll never have a good dad. I will not spread feminism because I had a crappy dad. I'll never have that awesome golden image of an ideal father who loves and protects his daughter and teaches her about the dangers of men who are bad and of the noble qualities one should seek in a husband. I'll never get to have that. I'll never have it. But that doesn't mean I take my pain and resentment, my frustration, my longing for a good dad, It doesn't mean I then say that patriarchy is to blame. My mom made a bad choice, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to let me come into this realm. And I'm here. I'll make the best of it and find some way to help women make better choices with men. Right? We get to choose who becomes the father of our children by the permission of Allah. We have some exercising of free will to do in this realm. Having a good father is a blessing. A system ruled by good, loving fathers is wonderful. It means a system where a handful of old, entitled white men get to tell everyone else what to do. That's not just unfair, it's actively dangerous. So again, old, so she degrades the wise old people. This sort of ageistic nastiness towards the old, as if there's no wisdom to be found in those who live longer than us. The thinking you know it all at such a young age. I was raised with my grandpa, and I like to be around old people more than young people or people my own age. And old people got a lot to talk about. If you have the patience to hear, I mean, they've lived long lives and they've got scars along the ways, especially old veterans. You can learn a lot from them. Entitled, you are entitled if you've survived this world to say something about something that you can. And white men, again, the whiteness here, she's a racist. If you said black, Asian, Latino here, the progressives would say that your book should be banned, you should be deplatformed, you should be debanked. This genocidal hatred towards white men makes me afraid for people in old folks' home. If you're reading literature like this in public liberal libraries that supports racism, you need to make sure you don't put your grandma and your grandpa in an old folks' home. There might be a group of activists who will hurt your family members because they're enraged with anti-white hatred. I wouldn't like to read this even if it was about any other race, because it doesn't matter. Our skin shade doesn't matter. I'm mixed race. I'm Italian and Cherokee. And my children, both of them are half Mexican, indigenous Mexican, so they don't have to worry about the white label. And all my brothers are half black, and I have a half black sister and a half Cuban sister. And it's just tragic. A white Christian family adopted one of my black brothers because my mom had a drug addiction, and they took very good care of him. Should I hate that straight white Christian man for adopting my little black brother to raise him, who's doing excellent in college now and was able to escape poverty? No, I will not hate him because of his sexuality and him being white. It's just absurd. She's saying that old white men are dangerous if they try to lead and take a leadership position. You must see how these feminists are talking. White Muslims, specifically too, have to root out this type of talking points among their congregations, among their groupings of people, because they're trying to cause a rift, not only between, remember she said, the husband and wife, but now she's saying the indigenous versus the people who are non-indigenous, and now against patriarchy, and now against fathers. And she also was mentioning, just all whites in general. That's very dangerous talk, actually, which is ironic, because she's fostering literal hate crimes, trying to foster up a genocide, thinking that's going to help heal, when in reality you're going to just create more racists out of the sheer need of survival. It's quite depressing, isn't it? It's really quite sad. Very scary. That's what I'll tell you. I'll pause here. If you'd like to help out the channel, go to www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there, and take care.